What's up, nerds? It's your boy Shane, and we're back with a deck upgrade for Tyranid Swarm. We gave Hunter $100, and we're gonna see what he can make with it. So, Hunter, why don't you talk about the commander?
Yeah, so Tyranid Swarm from the Warhammer 40K Precon deck. It is super interesting right out of the box. It is a very cool deck, and honestly, I think I'm gonna buy it just because of how cool it is. I'm
Well,
a
you should.
big fan of Tyranids. I didn't even know they were a thing until today.
Now you're a big fan, huh?
Now I'm a big fan.
I love
Gonna
it.
buy it. But yeah, so Tyranids. Basically what this deck is, filled up with Tyranids. It is a tribal deck that cares a lot about counters. So first and foremost, let's talk about our commander. So let's talk about the face commander first. It is the Swarm Lord. That is 3 a green, a blue, and a red for a 5/5 legendary creature Tyranid. It has rapid regeneration, which means the Swarm Lord enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. It also has Xenos Cunning, which means whenever a creature you control with a counter on it dies, draw a card. So when this was first announced, I saw this and went, meh, as Steven likes to say,
Meh.
because it's already 6 mana to cast, and it comes in as a 7/7 that doesn't do much more than that, because this is a green, blue, red deck that doesn't actually have any way to sack our own creatures. So we're on the whim of our opponents either blocking or killing our creatures to get that card draw.
Interesting.
Right. However, we are
However,
switching this commander because we are going with the backup commander, which is Magus Lucea Kane. Magus Lucea Kane is 1 a green, a blue, and a red for a 1/1 legendary creature human Tyranid wizard. It has Spiritual Leader, which says at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It also has Psychic Stimulus, which is an ability where you can tap her to add 2 colorless mana, and when you next cast a spell with X in its mana cost, or activate an ability with an X in its activation cost this turn, copy that spell or ability. You may choose new targets for the copy.
let me
So
guess. You're gonna play a lot of X spells, baby.
we are going with all the X spells because Magus Lucicane is crazy. A lot of this deck already came with a bunch of X spells, which is awesome, and the Swarm Load just seemed really weak. So I'm excited. Magus Lucicane, not only does it like come in as a 1/1, which is kind of weak, but that first combat, you can put the counter on itself. Doesn't say other target creature. So boom. Just keep pumping itself.
It's like a aspirant, dude.
Aspirant, dude. It's great.
Great, that card, yeah. Well, this deck looks sick so far, dude. So
Yeah,
that's swapping of the commander. Just want to jump straight into a bunch of your cool additions, or what? I want to get into the meat.
yeah, let's get into the meat and potatoes. So let's add some creatures that have that X cost in them. This first one, Stone Coil Serpent. It's just an X cost. That's a 0/0 artifact creature snake. It says reach, trample, protection from multicolored. It enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. Very
Wow.
simple to the point.
Yeah, that's actually awesome.
Yeah. And with Magus, if we tap her to use its ability on Stone Coil, we have 2 of them now.
No shot. I didn't even. Wow,
It's awesome.
that is actually pretty cool, dude.
Next creature we're adding in here is Genesis Hydra, which is X and 2 green for a 0/0 creature plant Hydra. It says when you cast a spell, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then shuffle the rest into your library. And of course, it enters with X+1/+1 counters on it. The only downside to Genesis Hydra, however, is it says when you cast the spell, so you aren't getting that first ability twice. If we use our commander, we only are getting it twice with the X counters on it,
Which is still fine, dude.
which is still fine. Don't get me wrong, because if you play this late game, you could bring in something pretty big.
I'm pretty sure all these X spells, when you play them late game, they're bombs, dude.
They really are. This last one for this little category is Shivan Devastator. It's a newer card from Dominaria United. It is X and a red for a 0/0 creature Dragon Hydra. It's got flying and haste. And it says it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So swing in immediately with 2 giant Shivens if you have your commander.
That's pretty wild too. I like how these all have, some kind of evasion, either trample, protection, haste.
Mhm.
I guess the plant hydra doesn't really have any evasion, but you can get some nutty cards off top of your lab. I don't know, these are all really strong, dude.
Yeah, I'm very excited for these. Moving on, we have some other creatures that are really good on theme here. This first one, a very popular commander by itself, is Animar, Soul of Elements. Animar, Soul of Elements is a green, blue, red for a 1/1 legendary creature elemental. It's got protection from white and from black. And it says whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Animar, Soul of Elements. Also, creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Animar. As you can see, Animar fits really good in this deck because we're going to be casting a bunch of creatures, making them even cheaper, making him bigger with counters.
Yeah,
It's
that
pretty cool.
one less, that'll count towards the X in the cost, right?
It sure does.
So it's like free?
Eventually,
Dude,
if I can get a whole bunch of counters on Animar,
I mean, even if you have, like, 3 of them, dude, that Stone Serpent Coil, that's 3 just free into them.
exactly that, man.
Wow.
This next one is Altered Ego. Altered Ego is X, a green and a blue for a 0/0 creature shapeshifter. It can't be countered, and you may have Altered Ego enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it enters with X additional +1/+1 counters on it. So, what's really cool about Altered Ego is not only can you take your opponent's creatures, but if we use our commander's ability for the 2 generic mana, we don't have to necessarily pay for any X because our commander says if there's X in the mana cost, then it copies the spell. So you can have Altered Ego come in for just your commander tapping and 2 extra mana for 2 copies of your opponent's things.
Damn.
hmm
That's a pretty cool little synergy combo right there, dude.
It is a cool one.
Uh-huh.
Another one we're adding in here is Voral of Hulklade. This is a green and a blue for a 1/4 legendary creature human merfolk. I can pay a green and a blue to tap it to double the number of each kind of counter on target artifact, creature, or land. So,
Jeez.
synergies with our counters.
Yeah,
Just double them straight up.
nutty.
And finally, I'm adding a big boy in here. This is Vigor. Vigor is 3 and 3 green for a 6/6 creature elemental incarnation. It has trample. It says if damage would be dealt to another creature you control, prevent that damage. Put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each 1 damage prevented this way. When Vigor is put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it back into its owner's library.
Whoa. Wait.
Yeah, it's a pretty
So your
cool one,
creatures
right?
don't take damage in combat, and he just grows?
He doesn't grow. The creatures grow.
Oh, the
If you deal
creatures grow.
if you deal any damage to any of my creatures, I prevent that damage, and they grow from the amount of damage taken.
I feel like there's a combo somewhere that, like, makes them go infinite.
Oh, there probably is, but I didn't put it in this deck.
Well, that's good. You're not a combo boy.
Hey, spoiler alert, we might be.
Oh,
Next up, I have some great enchantments that I really felt like needed to go into this deck. First one, Unbound Flourishing. Unbound Flourishing is 2 and a green. It says whenever you cast a permanent spell with a mana cost that contains X, double the value of X. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell or activate an ability, if that spell's mana cost or the ability's activation cost contains X, copy that spell or ability. You may choose new targets for the copy.
dude, so you're getting three copies?
I'm getting 3 copies and I'm doubling the value of X.
Jesus Christ.
Unbound Flourishing is probably should have been in the deck to begin with, to be
I'm
honest.
gonna I'm gonna kill that card, dude, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget to kill this next one. This is Simic Ascendancy. It is a green and a blue for an enchantment. I can pay 1, a green and a blue to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, I can put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. And at the beginning of my upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, I win the game.
Well, that one's definitely being killed.
Find
What?
some enchantment removal, man, because this just wins me the game on the spot.
Damn.
Imagine Vigor, dude. Vigor's just blocking damage and putting counters on creatures. This is growing with Simic Ascendancy. And then I can Voral a whole clay to double the amount of counters.
Dude, if you could find some way to make infinite mana, you just win.
It has to happen on my upkeep, so
Oh, that's well, this is instant though. Dude, at the end of like somebody's turn.
it's true.
Boop, 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 boop. I don't know. That's just stupid. Killing both those enchantments.
They're good enchantments. Next up, I want to throw in some X spells. First one, Pull from Tomorrow. X in 2 blue, instant. Draw X cards, then discard a card.
Not a
Very,
bad downside.
very quick, easy way to draw a bunch of cards, especially with a commander doubling that effect.
Yeah, that instant speed, Jesus, real
At
good.
instant speed, yeah. So my commander's up, and I wait till someone's end step, draw a bunch of cards. This other one is Animus Awakening. It is X in a green for a sorcery. It says reveal the top X cards of your library, put all land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. It also has Spell Mastery, which means if there are 2 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, untap those lands. So essentially, this is a great way to ramp.
So the ceiling is huge on this card.
Yeah, man, because if you're really looking for land and you have your commander out, double this spell, look for those lands.
Actually, you know what? That's true. Now that I think about it, if you have a bunch of mana to pump into this, you probably don't need the land, so it's kind of a win more. But then, yeah, your commander gives you 2 for free. So that's actually really good.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm back on board.
And the final little spell here we're adding in is Curse of the Swine. Curse of the Swine is X and 2 blue for a sorcery. Exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller creates a 2/2 green board creature token. It's a little bit of a removal. It's a great removal, especially with our commander doubling this. So we can get rid of a whole bunch of creatures because they're not just destroyed, they're exiled. Only downside is we're just giving him 2/2s, but you're probably killing stuff that are way better than a 2/2.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm going to be getting a lot of 2/2 green boars in the future.
You want some boars, dude? You got
I
them.
really don't know.
This next little spot I wanted to talk about, something I noticed in this deck, there is zero spot removal at all.
Uh-oh.
I mean, we aren't running black, so there isn't a whole bunch of options, but there is some good options. So that's what I'm adding in here. Beast Within and Rapid Hybridization. These 2 instants. The Beast Within is 2 and a green. For an instant, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. And Rapid Hybridization is 1 blue mana for an instant. It says destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. That creature's controller creates a 3/3 green frog lizard creature token.
Dude, you're just giving me beasts and frogs and pigs.
Yep.
All
I'll give
right,
you
I'll
some
take
beasts
it.
and frogs and pigs, and you
Oh,
just don't get your creature back.
oh, sad.
Yeah. Beast Within, it is a destroy target permanent as well, so if you wanted to destroy something other than that. And I did tease a little earlier about a potential combo in the deck,
Yeah.
and that here's my rule for combos. I only add a combo into the deck if the pieces of the combo make sense on their own for the deck itself. Like
Explain.
I'm not just throwing a silly combo in here just to have it go off. I'm not just throwing just like, oh, here's the Thassa Oracle combo. Boom, I win.
You just don't like winning? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
No, I'm saying it's just not my way to play. But
Okay.
if there is a combo that can be had in the deck that also is synergetic with the commander itself, then it's going
Okay.
in.
Okay,
So
well,
that's
tell
what
me.
this is right here. I'm telling you. Here we go. It's already been on screen. Hardened Scales is already in the deck.
With
All
awesome
right.
art.
With awesome art. Hardened Scales, in case you didn't know, is 1 green mana for an enchantment. It says if 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, that many +1/+1/+1 counter are put on it instead.
Love it.
So, having that already in the deck, I'm adding a Walking Ballista and Rite of Passage. Walking Ballista cost XX for a 0/0 artifact creature construct. It says Walking Ballista enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. I could pay 4 to put a +1/+1 counter on Walking Ballista. And it also has another ability where I can just remove a +1/+1 counter from Walking Ballista and have it deal 1 damage to any target. Rite of Passage is another enchantment that costs 2 and a green that says whenever a creature you control is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Pretty cool, right?
I mean, yeah, that's pretty stupid cool.
So, with these 3 cards in play, what I need to do is 6. 6 mana is the magic number, meaning I'm paying X 3 and 3. Comes in as a 3/3. I can remove one +1/+1 counter from Walking Ballista to deal 1 damage to itself. It does 1 damage to itself. Rite of Passage says when our creatures control damage, put a +1/+1 counter on it. But Hardened Sail says I put 2 instead. So it gets 2 counters. So then you just keep pinging itself until it has a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters, and then you just ping your opponents to death.
I mean, I love it.
There you go. And with our commander in play, we can actually cast duplicates of Walking Ballista just to make it quicker. I don't know. Yeah, it's just nuts. Walking Ballista, Rite of Passage, Hardened Scales. This combo goes off.
Dude, I figured it out.
What'd
You
you
don't
figure
even need
out?
Rite of Passage either, dude.
Okay.
If you have Vigor on the board, it does the exact same thing.
Vigor does do the exact same thing. You are correct.
Dude, I just five-headed it. Holy shit. Either way, this is a crazy combo.
Yes, sir.
Well, I hate that.
It's gonna go nuts, man. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it.
I'm
Can't
sure I
wait
will.
to can't wait to play against you
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
bring
yeah,
it
yeah,
on
yeah.
battle.
I can't wait.
Moving on, we did add one Planeswalker. This is Kiora Behemoth Beckoner. Kiora Behemoth Beckoner is 2, a green or blue, for a starting loyalty of 7. It says whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card, and a -1 that just says untap target permanent. So Kiora unfortunately will eventually die, but that -1 ability to untap target permanent allows us to untap our commander, tap it again. That ability that she says that copies spells will happen multiple times for the amount of times you tap her down and untap her.
So you can just get insane amounts of copies.
Multiple copies, yes.
Multiple copies.
It's going to be great.
Okay, well, you say great. I say whatever.
I did need to add this card. This is unfortunately a fifth of the entire budget of the $100, but
Okay.
this is such an important card that you cannot leave it out of a +1/+1 counter deck ever since it's been printed. It will get a reprint eventually, and this card will start going up in price. But it is the Ozolith. It is 1 generic mana for a legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. So our counters just never go away as long as the Ozolith is here.
That's synergistic.
It sure is, man. And if I have the Simic Ascendancy on the board and our creature dies, all the counters go here. They get put onto another creature all at once. That many Simic Ascendancy counters get put on it too. Pretty cool.
Dude, and you could win the game?
Win the game. That's right, buddy.
Fuck.
Finally, to wrap this up, I did change a couple of lands. The lands I added in is actually really good with a commander. First one, Treasure Vault. Artifact land. I can tap it to add a colorless or pay X, X, tap it, sacrifice Treasure Vault, create X treasure tokens. Make a whole bunch of
Good.
tokens if I really needed to,
Seems
because that
good.
ability copies twice. And then I'm just adding 2 of the bond lands. This is Rejuvenating Spring, Spire Garden. They both come in the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. Rejuvenating Springs taps for a blue and a green, and Spire Garden taps for a red and a green.
You just gotta put them in every commander deck at this point in time.
It really is, man. They are so important because you're always going to have 2 or more opponents.
Well, I would hope so. If not, you need to find more people for your pod.
Find more friends.
Find more. Well, Hunter, I'm actually pretty stoked on this deck you came up with. Uh, let's just do the part that we hate doing, where you rapid fire through all the cards you have to take out to make room for all your new toys.
Yeah, uh, Unfortunately, I did add a bunch of things, and I did tell you that this was a Tyranid tribal deck, so I'm taking out some Tyranids. So please, all you Warhammer fans, don't hate me for taking out cards that you love.
Oh, they're gonna hate you still.
First, yeah, they really are gonna hate me still. So, but I'll tell you why I took them out. Gargoyle Flock is one I'm removing. It's 2, a green and a blue for a 2/2 creature Tyranid Gargoyle. It's got flying. Says at the beginning of your end step, if a creature enters the battlefield under your control this turn, create a 1/1 blue Tyranid Gargoyle creature token with flying. There is a sub theme in this deck that I forgot to mention at the beginning. That is a bit of a token generator. Don't want to do that anymore. So a lot of these cards you're going to be seeing, I'm removing some tokens. So Gargoyle Flock, just a little slow, just making a 1/1. Eh, only does it once per turn.
Hey,
It's gone. Next up, Gene Stealer Locus. That is 3 a blue for 3/3 creature Tyranid Human. It says whenever a creature attacks you, it gets -1, -0 until end of turn. And whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents, it gets +0, +1 until end of turn. It is a very boring card.
very politics card, yeah.
Very politics, very really not doing much at all. Like that's all it does. I'm also getting rid of Gearson Starn Calamorph. It is 1 a blue and a red for a 3/2 legendary creature Tyranid Human. It has Ward 2. I do love Ward. It also says whenever another source you control deals exactly 1 damage to a permanent or player, this does 2 damage to that permanent or player.
What?
Yeah. So, I mean, doing exactly 1 we can do with Walking Ballista,
It's gonna be a long game, dude.
but it would be it's just slow. It's just too slow for the deck that
Oh,
I'm running.
I know you said never mind. You can do like one, stop one.
Yeah,
So
it has to
it
do
could be a one
exactly 1
turn.
damage.
Yeah.
Just ping something for 1. This will ping it for an additional 2.
Yeah. You can just keep doing that over and over, but yeah.
Yeah. Next up, I'm getting rid of Venomthorpe. Venomthorpe is 1 a green and a blue for a 2/2 creature Tyranid. It's got flying, death touch, hexproof. Just a little boring, in my opinion. It's funny that these cards are considered vanilla now
That's
because
not a vanilla card, dude.
it's not vanilla, but it's also just kind of doesn't do anything besides
I mean,
flying,
it's
death touch, hexproof.
yeah, it's a cool card.
It's a 2/2. It doesn't do what I want it to do. Not in the counter theme at all.
Yeah.
Also getting rid of Acolyte Hybrid. This is 2 and a red for a 2/2 creature Tyranid Human. It says whenever it attacks, destroy up to 1 target artifact. If an artifact is destroyed this way, its controller draws a card. I'm not trying to make people draw cards here. I mean, it's cool that it's on attack and not damage, but
Well,
I still don't want them to draw a card.
I feel you.
Getting rid of Gene Stealer Patriarch. That is 4 and a blue for a 4/4 creature Tyranid. It says whenever it attacks, put an infection counter on target creature defending player controls. Also, whenever a creature with an infection counter on it dies, you create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a Tyranid in addition to his other types. Again, it doesn't do as fast the things that I want it to do. It does not stay on theme with the counters. It's I mean, it has a type of counter, just not
Yeah.
plus 1 counters.
And it's not even infect, right? That's infection
It's an
or the
infection counter, meaning when they die, you make a copy of the creature that
right.
died.
So it's not even infect. Get out of here.
Yeah. Next, I'm getting rid of Tyranid Heridan. It's 4 a green and a blue for a 4/4 creature Tyranid. It's got flying and ward 4. It says whenever Tyranid Heridan or another Tyranid you control deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 blue Tyranid Gargoyle creature with flying. It's a very powerful card. It's got flying and ward 4, so it has a lot of evasion on it. But for 6 mana, just to make a 1/1 every time something deals damage, it's not doing the counter thing that I want it to do. So it's got to go. Next up, Lictor. That's 3 and a green for a 3/3 creature Tyranid. It's got flash. It says when it enters, if a creature entered the battlefield under an opponent's control this turn, create a 3/3 green Tyranid warrior creature token with trample. So you just gotta kind of sit back with this card, wait for your opponent to play something, then bang, you get a 3/3 with trample. Just
Hell
didn't
yeah.
s- just didn't seem seem worthy enough in my eyes to stay in the deck. And this is going to make a bunch of people sad. I am actually removing the Swarm Lord. That is right,
No.
the Phase Commander. 6 mana for a 5/5. I'm not going over it since I went over at the beginning. It's not going to do too much else because you're not going to get those +1/+1 counters on it since it's not in the command zone. And again, we don't have anything to just kill our creature to draw a card. So the Swarm Lord seems like a very easy cut if I'm switching the
Mhm.
commander.
Yeah, sadly.
Next up, I just chose these because I don't need them. This is Goliath Truck, which is 4 generic mana for a 4/4 artifact vehicle. It says when it attacks, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target attacking creature and a crew cost of 2. Here's the problem. If I want to attack with another attacking creature, I have to have at least 2 creatures because Goliath Truck needs to be crewed, which means I'm tapping down one of my creatures to crew it. It's just counterproductive in my opinion.
Some 5D chess, dude.
Exactly. Bred for the Hunt. This is a good card, but I'm actually taking it out as 1 in green and a blue for an enchantment. It says whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. That's what our deck does, but we did add a whole bunch of other draw spells. So this one was an easy one to cut out.
Okay.
Aetherize is in the deck, is 3 and a blue for an instant. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. Now, Aetherize on paper is like, wow, that seems good. It's good on a one-on-one. You have 2 other opponents, so you're only just disrupting one party.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Plus, just get Cyclonic Rift forehead.
yeah, just spend all that money and get Cyclonic. Return everything, not just attacking. I am continuing the drop with these green cards. Tyranid Invasion. This is 3 and a green for a sorcery. Create a number of 3/3 green Tyranid warrior creature tokens with trample equal to the number of opponents you have. Pretty good for 4 mana to make 3/3s if you're playing with 3 other opponents. But again, we are cutting the token theme kind of out of this deck. Harrow also getting dropped. This is 2 and a green for an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sack a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield, and shuffle. It's not really a world that I really want to sack a land.
Oh,
Not particularly. It's kind of like a counterintuitive of ramping. New Horizons, also kind of a ramp card I'm getting rid of. 2 and a green. Enchantment Aura. Enchant land. When a New Horizons enter the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Enchant land has tap to add 2 mana of any color. Again, we have Cultivate, Farseek, and all these other ones in the deck already. This one didn't need to be in the deck. Overgrowth, again, same kind of situation. 2 and a green. Enchant land. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 2 green.
yeah.
They're just a little slow for the ramp. Didn't need it anymore.
Okay.
And we did talk about adding lands, so here's the lands we're cutting. I feel like I always cut this land every time it comes to a precon. This first one, Ash Barrens. Ash Barrens is a land that you just tap for 1 generic mana. Has basic land cycling for 1 mana. Just an easy one to get rid of. I don't know why they upticked it to uncommon recently, but they did. It used to be a common.
That's
But
bonkers, dude.
because this land taps for are colorless. So if I get this in my opening hand, I'm not that happy because a lot of our stuff costs colors.
What about a Soul Ring, dude?
Yeah, Soul Ring would be a cool one to play. But I can also just do that with any land.
True.
Also getting rid of Cave of Temptation. Another land that just taps for colorless. I can also pay 1 and tap it to add 1 mana of any color, or I could pay 4, tap it to sacrifice Cave of Temptation, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature, and I can activate only as a sorcery.
Boo.
I don't see me ever doing that last ability, even though we are on the counter theme. 4 mana for 2 counters only on a sorcery. Not good.
Once.
And I don't like to mana sink, which means I don't want to pay to add 1 mana.
Mm.
And finally, I'm also getting rid of 1 forest and 2 mountains to wrap it up.
Well, man, I'm pretty stoked on this deck you came up with, and I'm kind of excited. I'm a little scared to see it. I think what I built might have been might be a little bit better, but we'll see, right? Because I'm a big fan of this deck, dude. So we gave you the $100. What'd you end up getting it to?
So at the time of this recording, it was currently sitting at $98.73.
Okay, that's under the mark. Good job, buddy.
Go ahead and buy those cards if you want to upgrade the deck. I'm
Yeah,
very excited to play this deck. This is I've talked a lot of trash on the Wizards keep doing the counter theme, but this one is actually a little bit different with the X counters. So sign me up.
yeah, dude. I'm a big fan of these 40K. I'm not gonna lie. When they were first spoiled, that was I was on board
Yeah, man.
for knowing nothing about 40K. Literally nothing about 40K. I'm on board.
Apologize to all those 40K fans that are just
I am,
screaming at their computers.
dude. Just wait till it's my turn to record. I'm gonna butcher every name.
Can't wait.
Well, right on, man. You can find the deck list down in the description. We did a mox build for it. You can go there, buy the cards, sleeve it up, beat your buddies. But with that, I will say goodbye to everyone. I think Hunter will say goodbye. But don't forget, smash that like button if you love Hunter's deck. Even if you don't, whatever. Leave him a comment telling him, maybe I didn't like this ad. I did like this ad. Give Hunter some feedback. He's learning. He's getting better. Yo, subscribe to our YouTube, guys. It's really cool. And also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Both just at Guys at Magic. We post all a bunch of cool stuff there, guys. So go check it out. And with that, I bid you adieu, Hunter.
Bye.
Bye, Felicia.